Hello, this is Astro Breeze, and today we're going to talk about the moon in a little bit of different way. I'm going to talk about it kind of more from a relationship point of view, but I want to show you at first on the channel here. If we just go down, I did a real good, go way down, down to the bottom almost here, like 2 years ago. I did a real good PowerPoint on moon through the signs, and I did sun, moon, and rising, and I did Aries through Scorpio, and then Scorpio through Pisces. The second one you can see there's one, and then here's number two. Whoop! I don't want to go there. Anyway, there it is. There it is. Okay, go away. Down there. Go back. Okay, we don't want to do that. Let's. Thank you. There we go. Okay. Anyway, just wanted to show you that because it's a good review. Basically that energy is the same, but we're looking at it differently. It's like Aries energy is Aries energy. Moon energy is moon, but how is it portrayed? So those are that's kind of how it is. So if you need to refresh yourself, I would suggest go through that. I did a good PowerPoint on that a while back. But we're going to look at it a little bit differently today. And let me, I want to show you. Where is it? Oh, gosh, I have so many things open here. Let's go to this one. Let me show you this one. I can find more. All right. These are just, I want something for you to look at while I'm kind of giving you a little backdrop. Basically, your moon is like, your moon, it describes your most important personal needs, how your feelings are expressed, or how you experience things change in your life. It could be related to the home or your mom. Some people say dad, mom. I kind of think mom, moon. It just makes more sense to me. It could be your daily routine. That's your moon. It moves daily. It's like up and down. It's like a sun and moon. It's like your internal process, how you emote, how you feel about things. It's very personal. It's like what you maybe tend to hide from others or kind of keep hidden. Most of us signs. It's also emotional fulfillment. How you talk about your feelings or how you relate with someone, like on a day-to-day basis. It's your moods. It's emotional. It's when we're looking at it from a few different perspectives. A lot of people will be looking and listening to this from a romantic point of view, but we have to keep in mind, and I'll probably kind of focus in on that because that's what a lot of people want to hear. But there's, all the other relationships, your grandmother, your child, your teacher, your coworkers. We want to know how their moon affects you and how your moon affects them. So we kind of look at the energy of those, and I'll go through them in a little more detail. I'm going to start wide, and I'll get more exact. That way I give you some nails to hang some things on. So it's like if we kind of go through a quick journey of just through the signs. So, moon in Aries, emotionally, I'm just not going to say, I'll just kind of give you a few more keywords. Aggressive or forward, maybe. Aggressive may not be bad. It's just like, I want that. I'm going to get that. Hey, can I have that? That's Aries, right? Moon in Taurus is way more like emotionally stable, but it's also sensual. Gemini would be versatile or communicative. Cancer would be tenacious emotionally, clingy, or real loving. Leo would be dramatic, emotionally dramatic or very up and down. Virgo would be discriminating and exacting. Discriminating is a good word. Libra would be refined or balancing. Scorpio would be possessive or deep. Sagittarius could be idealistic or far-sighted. Capricorn could be reserved or what's the word I'm looking? Responsible. Aquarius could be detached, aloof. Pisces could be instinctive or emotionally subjective because they're subjective to everybody there. All right. And then if we take them through the houses, if it's in your first house, it's like yourself. It's about you and your environment, you know. It's if it's in your second house, it's what your possessions are, your stability, you know, the finer things that you like, you know, those possessions, you know, things that make you secure, actually, I should say. The third house, it's like where you're expressing, you know, it's more communicative. It's in the fourth house, it's more feeling. It's like it's in its place of rulership. You know, the moon is at home in Cancer, and the fourth house relates to Cancer. So it kind of likes being there. In the fifth house, it's like more dramatic and theatrical. It's on stage for everybody to look at. In the sixth house, it's more adaptable. It's a good word. In the seventh house, it's more relationship oriented, let's say. In the eighth house, it's more intuitive or transformative, another good word. In the ninth house, it's more philosophical. That's a good one. In the 10th, it's more social climbing, how you people, you know, are going to view you, you know, your moon, your feeling there, where you're shining when you want people to see you. Moon in the 11th, more friendly, friends, groups, higher minded, maybe like egalitarianism for the group, for the masses. In the 12th house, maybe insular or endings, secretiveness. All right, so those are just some key areas. Now let me give you a new share. There we go, Synastry notes. All right, so a couple things here. I got in general in this part up here. Synastry, you know, looking at how we relate with other people can help us become better partners, no matter what kind of partner we are. It can help us understand our triggers or our boundaries. It can help, I'm going to say you anyway. It can help you unlock your fear of commitment or understand that suffocating feeling you might get when things begin to get serious or hard in a relationship. It can help you identify why you're hurt so easily or why feelings of rejection might come easily to you. What is it on your chart that attracts abusive or deceitful partners? Why do you hold them so tightly? And then the moon, moon focuses on ourselves, our feelings, and our quality-based perceptions of romance. So a little bit on romance, but I'm going to try to broaden it out as we go. Are we fearful or brave? Are we expecting pain or looking forward to the pleasure and emotional satisfaction that could be had from a relationship? The moon describes our instincts, and this covers our hopes and fears, our beliefs of how deserving of love we are, and controls how much we emotionally invest into our relationships work. It covers habits, and this can include baggage and defensive or self-defeating patterns that we find ourselves repeating. Oh no. Right. All right. Moon in the elements. Again, starting a little broad and getting a little bit more focused in on certain things here for you. So we want to think about, and because this gets really large and it gets kind of astrobabbly, so I want to keep it easy here. So when we're looking at moons, you look at your own moon for the moment and get the gist of what element it is, and then look at whoever else's moon you're looking at and get a gist of what that is. So, you know, we've got fire, earth, air, and water. So let's just give you a little overview, some things to think about. Some things to when you're looking at moons. I don't know what's going on with my microphone. Let me just see. Hopefully that's good. And let's see. Okay, sorry, I had a little microphone mishap. So, anyway, we want to look at the moons and the elements. So, if we have the fire moons, we have Aries and Leo and Sag, and fire moons can be all in. When it's something to do with love, it could be brave, driven, reckless. Um, when they convey their feelings, they can convey confidence that can come off as a little arrogant. They can even be blunt. They can be just as vulnerable as the other elements when it comes to love. However, the fire tells them that it's important they lay it on the line rather than lose the moment. Steady, careful, sensual. Whoops, that one. Oops, zip, zip, zip. That should be in the next line. He never fails, when you're trying to put something before. Okay, anyway, let's just get this here. Editing on the fly. So, steady, careful, sensual, and down to earth. Remember to breathe through the whole experience of love. Your earth moons are your Taurus, your Virgo, and your Capricorn. Touch, taste, and smells are important, and of the elements. Earth moons live in the moment the most, often traditional and sometimes too patient for their own good. It can be hard sometimes to tell if an earth moon person is interested from the receiving end. There's different, and we'll get into a little bit where the earth signs are. The Taurus moon would just definitely be way more sensual, than the earth signs. Virgo would be more analytical. Virgo moons, or somebody in that moon or Virgo house or sixth house, you may have more work connections. Not always, and we'll see how it goes. But it would be something maybe work related, where on the second house it would be related to sensual needs and security. So you'll see that how it kind of changes when we get a little deeper into it. Or we're being broad now. So moving on, air moons don't seem to feel the same way everyone else does, and they may seem to talk about feelings more than they express them. Air signs tend to process their thoughts and feelings before they vocalize them. And it may appear to others that they intellectualize their emotions. Well, of course, that's air. Although they can be seen at times a little cold, air moons are often the most accepting of the signs. It won't judge or try to change you. And then the water moons, they're just kind of the opposite of the air moons. They feel everything, and on a deep level and on a more personal level. So it's almost like they take things personally on that, just because they're so receptive. So their sensitivity to the moods of others and the intensity in the way they experience emotions can be overwhelming. And to some, it may seem an experience similar to drowning. But whether it's glory, anxiety, jealousy, or despair, nobody feels love like a water moon. So those are some interesting places for that. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. Let me just get this called up here. All right, let me give you this one. Change this for you. Couple other things about some of the houses. I wanted to give you some other things before I move on. We're going to be putting the moon in a context of somebody else. So if it's somebody else, they're going to affect you in that certain way. So let's just say, give you just like close your eyes and just kind of imagine, if you are an Aries moon, you're going to definitely be, a little more short-tempered. You got the Aries in the emotions. You might bark more because, it's a cardinal sign. Cardinal sign tends to, be a little bit more quick or short or snap or, sharp or snappy. The emotions and instincts will be way sharper. So that moon energy is not real comfortable in Aries. It wants to be, ideally the moon, is at home in Cancer. So it would feel at home in all of the water signs. It would feel more at home in Scorpio or Pisces. But then those areas in your chart are deep. It's like wherever that Scorpio is in your chart, that's not like the light-hearted stuff like a Gemini moon, right? There's some really depth to that, but it might be getting like a lot. So you can see how that could be really modeling, because it would intensify those feelings. If the moon were in an adjacent sign, or I should say in a sextile sign in the same polarity, because the water is feminine, if we put it in the earth signs, which are feminine, it would get along better, because earth and water are feminine signs, and they're both conducive to the moon and the moon energy. So if you have a moon in a feminine sign or a feminine house, it's probably going to be a little more comfortable. Whereas if you have a moon in a masculine sign, or, positive outward sign, or a masculine house, it's going to be not as comfortable. It's just not, because it's opposite of kind of how it wants to be. So if your moon, is in an odd number house, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, it's going to be a little more uncomfortable, a little more agitated, because it's not feeling, it's got to do something else. It's got to act, or it's got to talk, or it's got to be on stage, or, it's got to balance everybody, or, it's got to go on a quest, or it's got to, look out for everyone, just kind of quickly going through the masculine signs. So keep that in mind as we move through those. So, your first, your Aries moon, again, is that abruptness, that we gotta do it, but it's also very, very volatile, and it can get riled up. It can have a temper, but then it can just as easily be gone. It can just rant and then boop, gone. on to whatever the next is, on to the next. So Aries, right? So then if we go through Taurus, so the moon, in Taurus, let me just move over here. Sorry. There we gotta go. So if we got, I gotta keep my place here. If we got the moon in Taurus, it's where the moon is exalted. That's where it's an honored guest when it's in Taurus, because it wants to be in that watery, receptive, Cancerian nature, but it doesn't mind being in Taurus. It's like, whoa, let me just serve you. So it gets to bask, it gets to be nurtured or nurture someone else. It's tribal. It's built for stabilization, being stable and not changing. Internally, it's like you're the rock, or there's somebody is your rock, that solid, supportive, sweet Taurian moon. All right. Moon in Gemini, it's, way more of a communicator. It's like a computer. It's like people that have moon in Gemini could be like addicted to their phone. I want, it's like they love the communications, but it's like they're just compelled to it. They're stuck to it. They can't stop, and they have an instinctual need to communicate. Your moon is where you have instinctual things, like that Aries temper. That person may cuss a lot. Something drops on the floor and they're like, shit. It's like that really wasn't worth the word shit. Come on, it just, little, your hair bow dropped on the floor. But they're instinctual like that, where, Taurus is instinctually sensual. It's like, I just can't help loving chocolate. I just love chocolate coffee, and I love this chair, and this, and that smell of that, it's just, they're so sensual. They just would enjoy all of that because of this, you have that magnification of the senses. All right, moving on. Cancer in the, Cancer moon, it's they're like the baby of the zodiac. They're kind of like it's like a baby in a nursery crib. The physical embodiment or manifestation of cancer. It's motherly. It wears you down slowly. Um, it's it's very emotional. It could get really crazy, at times because it's so much the same. It could, people can be kind of batshit crazy sometimes. They're high emotion. They're very instinctual. They're very defensive, protective, susceptible, can be highly vulnerable. And there's just a lot of raw emotion with, the moon in its own sign, of course. um, yeah, that's a probably a hard one to embody. All right, moon. If the moon is in Leo, um, we've got a real. It's kind of contrary. I feel sorry for them in a way because it's sort of opposite. The sun needs to be in Leo, but then when the moon is in Leo, we don't have quite the on stageness and attention. It's maybe a little bit. Uh, it's like they need way more validation. It's like they've got to. There's kind of. It seems like attention starved a lot of times. They need more support. It's a bit because it's a hard place for that. The moon. It's just reflecting the sun's light instead of being that. They need that validation. They need a stage or a spotlight to shine on. They need to be the social bonfire that everybody is warmed by. So it's a kind of a it can be a precarious place. You could be addicted to adrenaline or maybe like an adrenaline junkie. Maybe if you're not in an emotionally good space, you could be like a wounded lion. It's like it could be very pitiful. They could also be a little narcissistic because they're not getting the validation that they need. It's a delicate place in a strange way. Okay, making sure I'm keeping track here. So Virgo. I'll get my right notes here. Into Virgo. Well, we've got that exacting, nitpicking. It's obsessing. It's kind of what it's instinctually OCD. It's got this perfectionist tendencies. Things need to make sense and to be, on an instinctual level. They can't stand unorganized thoughts and anything. They're into details. It could be kind of obsessive, but they'll get things done for you. They'll, if they'll show you they love you by having your clothes folded nicely, by making your house neat, by it's like things like that. That's more that way than real tender. It's more practical things. You'll get practical things from them. All right, into Libra. That's another hard place, I think. They need. It's like they're codependent. The moon. You think, it's in a masculine sign in Libra, and it wants to balance things, and so it has a hard time. It could be, it wants to be in partnership for one thing, but some kind of partnership, but it's wanting to maybe balance too much or to doesn't like to make decisions. So it would be happy if somebody else made decisions. It's really harmonious. It really likes quietude and harmonious environments, not harsh things, not harsh words, not cursing and offensive and loud type of environments. It likes a much more calm, refined, beautiful setting. Really important. And then it's okay, going on to Scorpio. Ooh, boy, that's deep. There could be like, you could live by visceral things. It's deep seated for others. You want to know, you want to possess, you want to it's like a kind of a vacuum for wanting what it wants, having, what it has. It's deep, it's transformative, it's forever. It wants, it's possessive, it's jealous. It's because it doesn't want to let go. It's like, we already did the deal. Now we have to are in it for the long term. And, and I'm intense. I don't want no surface flighty stuff. I want intensity. I want to talk about real topics. We're going to get down to just that deep understanding. It can get just really thick, I think. So that's a very intense need. It could be instinctual need for sex, for having that uniting compassion with somebody else, that uniting bond would be really important to the moon in Scorpio. All right, moon in Sag. Well, it's kind of like Sag and Gemini are good, but more so Sag. Marriage may not really be your thing, or one stable relationship may not be your thing. They're not quite hardwired for it, for the deep psychological connections. They kind of believe that the laws of that don't apply to them. They're more into that shiny object syndrome. The grass is always greener over there. Maybe they're more interested in pursuing education, travel, foreign people, foreign things, movement. They can't settle down. If somebody can do that with them, they'd be happy. Somebody that could travel and have that same, not so attached to things and people, but it's very upbeat. Not that Sagittarius moons can ever settle down or anything, but they just have a streak in them that might be a bit, wanderlust, or looking for the next adventure, looking for what's coming up next, wanting to have movement, can't be still in any one place. All right, which brings us up to the moon in the 10th house, or we'll get there, but Capricorn moon. This is more another difficult place for the moon. It's kind of like they're not as emotional. They don't feel a lot of emotion. It hurts to feel too much, so I'm not going to feel there, right? It's more of a provider. They try to avoid emotions when they can. They have a hard time expressing emotions. So they kind of give you something of value, sort of like Virgo, back to that earth. But those two are different than the Taurus. Taurus is real sensual, and then the Virgo and Capricorn are more businessy kind of, or tend to details. So it's more of a, somebody would be more like you would be, if it were you, you'd be interested in somebody's work or career, or the other, or if somebody had that moon, you would be that way. It's not like the most sensual place for the moon. I got something in here somewhere. I got to find it later, but yeah. It's a hard place. It's not one of the nice, warm and fuzzy places for the moon. It's not, that moon just does not feel happy over there. Not at all. It's in its detriment in Capricorn, and then it's fall in Scorpio. So it just doesn't feel, like I was saying, it's just, those are hard signs, hard places for them to be. All right, the moon in Aquarius. Well, this is another Saturn ruled sign. If we're talking about the, Aquarius, I think Aquarius and Saturn, Capricorn are both ruled by Saturn. I go with the older rulers for the most part. So it's also a cold moon, or a less emotional moon, but it's not unkind. It's just kind of high-minded, it's kind of like Dr. Spock, it's like lessons, emotions are way less, they're more logical. This would be the person you would go to in a crisis or something, because they're going to be calm, cool, and collected. They're going to be, their instinctual reaction is just, well, let's look at this logically. Let's process this out. Let's let's put this out and get a good 1-2 on it. It's not, so you don't want to force them to feel things when they can't. Um, it's a little bit harder to feel how somebody else would feel. They could think and they could read how it would be, but it would be hard for them to feel it. And then once they did feel something, then they quickly process it and it's kind of filed away. It's a strange place. It's not as difficult as a Capricorn, I think, or maybe a Virgo moon, but it's not the warm and fuzzy place that the moon would like to be. All right, and then getting to the moon in Pisces. Well, I mean, it's like it could just fuzz out. It could just expand out. It's very sensitive. It's very deep. It's you have to kind of be nice to them because they're just delicate. They don't like harsh words, loud noises, offensive people, crude or crass things. You got to kind of walk on eggshells a little bit because of that if you're a noisy person. Or if you're not thinking, and you tend to blah, 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 that could be kind of offensive to that type of person. Maybe a little bit thin-skinned, maybe a way to say that. So moon through those signs give you an idea of that. Now, if somebody's moon, let's see if I get, what can I show you here? We talked about those. Okay, if somebody's moon is in your first house, I guess we can, I don't think you can see this. Let me put this over for you. Hold on. We can share this. There we go. All right. So if your partner's moon is in your first house, it creates feelings of emotional safety. You feel safe and relaxed because they're identifying to you. They're lighting you up. That moon energy is in your first house. And you can flip this around. I'm just going to say it this way. If it were your moon in somebody else's first house, it's the same thing. But it's going to be, you could open up because that moon energy is into who you are. Okay, so somebody's moon is in your first house. They are going to make you feel good about yourself. You can trust your instincts to communicate more about your feelings because the focus is on you. That first house energy is like your identity. So if somebody's moon is there, they're focused on you. So you can be a little deep. You can flow your emotions. You can be instinctual. You feel okay with that person because they are instinctually, like they got you. They know you. If somebody's moon is in your second house, it's like you have that protective, nurturing. They're interested in your security. They're interested in you having a secure environment. You're saving your money. You have a house. You've got food. You've got the good food. They're concerned about those. They want your safety, and they care about. They want you to be protected. Do you have a gun? Do you know how to use it? Have you taken martial art lessons? They want to make sure that you're protected and sheltered. So you have to be aware of emotional or comfort spending when you're with that partner too. It's like, oh yes, you need to get you need for your emotional security, whatever. In the third house, this is the person that you can hang out with and just you lie around and you can talk for hours with. You can share your thoughts. You can share your feelings. You can share your most private things because you feel like you can talk there. That person you might have a kind of a intellectual, emotional pick up on each other's words and sentences. You can share without words. You get that kind of intuitiveness there. Your partner's also sensitive to your moods and receptive to your feelings. And that creates something that feels good to you. If the moon is in the fourth house, this is like this is the house that it wants to be, right? This is its home. It's its home. Your feeling of connection or importance to family or children or security it's experienced on an emotional level. Feelings, no matter how deeply buried about your own family, might come up. It probably is a lot more about home, and it feels good. It feels that person may help you to understand more your feelings, what you have inside of you. You might feel safe and secure there, or you might offer security or family or home for somebody else. If that, somebody, either way, moon for you, somebody's providing for you, or if your moon is in somebody's fourth house, you might put the emphasis on secure or home or family issue for them. It may be something that you always have a family connection. You guys might always have something on that level. In the fifth house, this is where there's pleasure, fun, romance, sex, affairs, children, creations, artistic endeavors. And a moon there will bring that out. That these things that are part of you can be expressed more with that person. It could also have emotional attachments of how would I say, near the end here, the impression of something that may last longer than its natural intended lifespan. If somebody's moon is in your fifth house, they're going to inspire your creativities. You're going to feel good, like somebody's got your back, maybe on, they understand what you're trying to express, whatever you're trying to express, you feel that instinctual need. Or if your moon is in somebody's fifth house, you will, if it's not like a romance, an affair or something like that, it's supportiveness for their creative needs. You're supporting somebody else's creative needs, or somebody's supporting your creative needs. And that could also be having children, because of, the fifth house is where you express creation, and that's, children is very much part of that. All right, somebody's moon in your sixth house, it's more kind of like sharing more domestic tasks. They're making, there's back to that Virgo side. They're kind of making sure that you're cared for, warm, that you're eating well. There's a health aspect. They might care about your health. This is a lot of times a placement for like, if a doctor is in your, your doctor, your healthcare provider, your naturopath, your massage therapist, your dentist, anything like that is in your sixth house. That's a good thing, because they're caring for your health and well-being, and the same thing, or it could be a work related, they care about your work, your working, or your daily routine on work level together, because you got routine and you got Virgo, you got sixth house. So that all gets along on that level. And it's, I'd say, a little more impersonal, not as warm, cushy, cuddly, with that there. The moon in the seventh house. The moon in the seventh house, that person needs a partner. That person needs some kind of partner. Now, well, whether it's a romantic partner or just a business partner, or some kind of partnership, maybe like, say, look, Steely Dan, Walter Becker and Donald Fagen, they were great partners. They're both married separately, but they were partners. They just knew each other's, the music side of each other intimately. They can, it was amazing how they just communicated, and they could finish each other's sentences, and they knew, anyway, it was pretty amazing. I'm sure there's a lot of other people like that, but that's cool to see. So that seventh house is that need for partnership, or to support, whatever balancing of a partnership, whether you're a romantic partnership. It could tend to long marriages, because it's like that partner, that balance, that creative side of you, or you're supporting that in someone else. You're supporting being a supportive partner to somebody else. It's kind of like, it's taking the back seat. The Aries is the first, and then Libra is the opposite. So it would be like, well, I could take a supportive role with this partner. I could support this partner, whereas in the first house, it's supporting me, where here it's supporting you. All right. Eighth house moon. This is like I was saying, it's in the beginning about the water houses. Moon likes to be there, but it may not be the easiest place. It doesn't mean because the moon likes to be there, it gets along because it's on the water level that it is easy. Somebody's moon in your eighth house is intense, no matter what the relationship. If it's a love relationship or if it's a parent or a kid or a teacher, that person is going to bring something of intensity, something deep, something emotional, or just to be deep to you. It's like my dad's moon and mine both fall in each other's eighth house, and we've always talked about deep things. We've always had transformative conversations. We could just talk for hours on really deep subject. We don't get onto the real superficial things. It's just right away getting to the root of something. So the eighth house could be really, you're supporting the intensity of somebody. It could be obsessive if it's in a love relationship. It could be real emotional or really depthy. That person could just ignite something in you that you just have the depth. You've never felt that before. And it's transformative, it's deep, it's depthy, it's on that core level, and it is what poets and playwrights write and sing about. And people write songs about. Moon in the ninth house. Well, this is I think a place where you can help somebody expand either their higher knowledge, deeper learning, higher studies, more studies. It could expand not only to studies, but to foreign places, travel, other places. It's like showing them other parts of the world or other parts of themselves. If your moon is in somebody's ninth house, you're going to support their higher education, their travel, their language learning. You're going to support that other side of them, or somebody's going to support that in you. And that could be a fun place. I mean, that could get along pretty well. Now back to the 10th house or the Capricorn stuff. This partner can be, take a protective interest in your career or your public profile. We saw this when we were looking at Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham. I believe it was his moon. Gosh, I'm getting confused now whether it was his sun or his moon was in her 10th house, which was, all on her career. So this was really interesting. It could bring out career opportunities, or may even become, it's like it might bring you into their business, that person, if they're there. It's like, yeah, I'll support you in here. Or they could bring you into what you do professionally. You may find their business persona to have sharper edges than the person you're in relationship with. So I was like, whoa, I didn't know you were such a tyrant. Because like you were seeing their ascendant and maybe their sun sign, but then their moon now gets a little ruthless here with this place. Somebody's moon in your 10th house, or your moon in somebody else's 10th house. It can be challenging because the fundamental lessons do not mix business with pleasure. So this can be difficult. This one might be, you might have to talk to the partner if it's a romantic one and you're not interested in them being in your business or anything. You might have to kind of, make some boundaries on this one, draw some lines. It could be a stoic place. It could be, a football coach's wife. It's like you're supporting, or a football player's wife. You're supporting them in their career. Something could be like that. All right. If your moon is in somebody's 11th house, or if it's in your 11th house, if you're in theirs or they're in yours, that's, it's another kind of a cold, Saturn ruled sign, but it's not quite as cold again as Capricorn. It's more sensitivity of like your social settings, how you'll be with groups, or how you'll balance yourself with your friends. It may, people here may be in a social group or some kind of a group setting together, or where they're managing a group together. They could be in a band. They could be, part of a group. It could be social settings. The person could introduce you to friends, or you could introduce them to people. They could check on you. It's friendly. It's a very friendly place. It's a good place to have a friend. It inspires deeper friendships. So if somebody's moon is in your 11th house, and it's a romantic, that's a good place to have, because as the honeymoon wears off, the friendship lasts, and it's a good place for a longevity aspect with somebody, whether you're in a romantic relationship or any other. It's, again, a nice place for a friendship and a long-term understanding of someone, or of someone to you. And in the 12th house, your partner seems to have an almost empathic understanding of your habits and patterns and the way you make life more difficult for yourself. Planetary patterns or triggers that you have in your 12th house seem less alarming to them, because they may be less reactive or threatened than you may have experienced from other people. And this can draw forth more feelings of safety, comfort, and relief. What I find a lot is that feeling back to that watery moon, that somebody's moon there can support yourself on a secret level, on a place to just fuzz out, to just expand, so you're not judged. It could be supportive for any kind of endings, any kind of institutions. It could be where you are, it's kind of like the Scorpio, but maybe not as jealous and possessive. It could be where you have some emotional depth with somebody. You support their, if it's you support their sensitivity. Maybe their sensitivity as a person, as an artist, of whatever. You support their vulnerability. Or if somebody's moon is there for you, you can be vulnerable with that person. You can maybe have that trust without being felt to be possessed, like maybe a Scorpio being like, I want you, I have you, where this is just, it allows you to be there more. Okay, that was quite a bit. So there's always a lot when you're going through these. So I would urge you again to maybe go to, I can't do two things at once, to go to earlier and watch my video on the moon through sun, moon, and rising in all the signs, and it kind of gives you a perspective of how that little nuance changes, how it shifts from the ascendant, and sun and moon. Those are all like different shades of glasses or a lens that you're putting on to view that. So again, it's all the same, but it's a little different. When you're looking at somebody else, you're putting, it could go either way. Your moon is in their house. Where is it? Which house is it in? Where is that going to act out in life? What area is going to be, played out and on the role of life with that person, or vice versa, you with them. All right, hope you enjoyed that. Go investigate those moons. Be some full moons. A lot of moons. All right, everybody. Talk to you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.